Dear students, today I am starting the second unit of mechanics paper, Work and Energy. The reference text of this paper is An Introduction to Mechanics by Daniel Kleitner and Robert J. Kolenko. The sections of this chapter from the textbook is 4.1 to 4.3. So, we are dealing with the paper mechanics. So, in mechanics, they are usually interested in the motion of particles. So, this is my question. How we can find the motion of a particle if we know the force? We all studied about the laws of motion in your plus 2. So how we can find the motion of particle if we know the force? You all know the answer. It is using the Newton's laws of motion. So which law of Newton defines force? Newton's second law of motion gives definition of force and give an equation of force, how to measure force. So Newton's second law of motion is, we all know that F is equal to ma, where F is the force, F is the force, m is the mass, and a is the acceleration. Mass of the particle and a is the acceleration. So here we have one particle. We know the mass of the particle because the particle is in our hand. So we know the mass of the particle. And if we know the force, we can find acceleration. So knowing the force F and mass m, we can find the acceleration. Now how we can find acceleration? We can solve this equation and we can find acceleration. Now we get the acceleration using this equation. Knowing the acceleration, we can find the velocity. How? Acceleration and velocity is that acceleration is the derivative of velocity. So by knowing the acceleration, integrating the acceleration, we will get the velocity. And the relation between velocity and position is, velocity is the derivative of position. So knowing the velocity, integrating the velocity, we will get r. So in this way, we obtain the position of the particle. So this is the ultimate aim. We need to find the position or motion of a particle if we know the force. So let this equation be equation 1. F equal to ma is the equation number 1. In equation 1, we can use the differential method, differential type. That is, we can substitute, instead of a, we can substitute dv by dt. So m into dv by dt is equal to f of r. Let this equation can be renamed, can be numbered as equation number 2. അപ്പോൾ ആദ്യം നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് ന്യൂട്ടൺ സെക്കൻഡ് ലോ ഓഫ് മോഷൻ വെച്ചിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ഫോഴ്സും മാസും അറിയാമെങ്കിൽ ഒരു പാർട്ടിക്കിളിൻ്റെ ആക്സിലറേഷൻ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാം. ആക്സിലറേഷൻ അറിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് വെലോസിറ്റി കാണാം. വെലോസിറ്റി കിട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് പൊസിഷൻ കാണാം. സോ ഈ രീതിയിൽ നമുക്ക് ഒരു പാർട്ടിക്കിളിൻ്റെ പൊസിഷൻ, ഒരു മൂവിങ് പാർട്ടിക്കിളിൻ്റെ പൊസിഷൻ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാനായിട്ട് സാധിക്കും. സോ അതിനുവേണ്ടി നമുക്ക് അറിയാവുന്ന സെക്കൻഡ് ലോ ഓഫ് ഇക്വേഷൻ ഓഫ് മോഷനെ നമ്മളൊരു ഡിഫറൻഷ്യൽ ഇക്വേഷൻ്റെ ഫോമിൽ എഴുതി. So equation number 2 can be represented as a first order differential equation in velocity. You all know about differential equations as you learned in the mathematics. First order differential equation in velocity. Because I expressed this equation in terms of v. If I express this equation in terms of r, what will be this equation? This equation will be m into dv by dt can be represented as dr by dt. So this equation can be rewritten as m d square r by dt square is equal to f of r. So this equation is a second order differential equation in position. Second order differential equation in position. So in this way we can represent the Newton's laws of motion, Newton's equation of motion in two ways. We can represent in terms of velocity. So this is a first order differential equation in velocity. Or we can represent it in terms of position. Then it is a second order differential equation in position. So now we are dealing with the equation number 2. So here you can think about one thing. In the LHS, the velocity, we have to take the derivative of velocity with respect to time. So to integrate this equation and to find out the velocity, the force must be a function of time. But here the force is represented as f of r. F of r means it is a function of r. What is r? R is the position of a particle. So here force is represented as the position of a particle. So this is our main problem. We all know about, it is easy if the calculations, if we know the force is usually known as a function of position, because we know that, for example, in the case of gravitational force, what is the equation of gravitational force? Newton's laws of gravitation. Force F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. Here the force is a function of position only. There is no time dependence in this equation. So this force is not time dependent. So this force can be represented as f of r. But some forces are time dependent. So if our force is not time dependent, that means our force is only a function of position, then how we can integrate this? So this is our problem. So our question is how to find v of t from equation number 2. What is equation 2? M into dv by dt is equal to f of r. This is our equation. So from this equation, how we can find f of t, where force F is a non-function of position. So lot of discussions about this question, and we can find a simple solution to this problem if we are considering one-dimensional motion. What do we mean by one-dimensional motion? We know that a particle, we are moving in a three-dimensional world where the three dimensions can be represented as, how we can represent the three dimensions? We can represent it as x, y and z. So this is the three dimensions. So if we have only x coordinate, then we name it as one-dimensional motion. One-dimensional motions will always be in a straight line, or we can rename as all horizontal straight line motions are one-dimensional motions. Now, if we have two dimensions, that means I have x dimension and I have y dimension, then we can say that this is a, what is this? This is a plane. We know that a blackboard is a plane. So it has two coordinates, x and y. So we name it as two-dimensional motion. Now, if we have the third coordinate also, so we have x, y and z. So we know that this is a cube. So in this cube it has x direction, y direction and z direction. So this cube is an example of a particle moving in this cube have three-dimensional motion. So a particle moving in a room can be represented using a three-dimensional motion. So to represent that particle we need three coordinates, x, y and z. If a particle moving in a blackboard, we can represent it using a using two coordinates x and y. That means it is a two-dimensional motion. So one-dimensional motion is the most easy case. It need only one coordinate to represent. So the equation of motion, from the equation of motion, we can find v of t easily for one-dimensional motion in a single variable. So it is the easiest case. We can also find three-dimensional motion, but the mathematical formulation is it is quite complex. So first we are dealing with one-dimensional motion. For m dv by dt equal to f of r എന്നുള്ള എക്സ്പ്രഷനിലെ വെലോസിറ്റിനെ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാനാണ് നമ്മൾ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നത്, where force is a function of position. So ഈ ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം ഒരു വൺ ഡയമെൻഷണൽ കേസിലൂടെ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം സോൾവ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. വൺ ഡയമെൻഷണൽ കേസാണ് ഏറ്റവും ഈസി. അതിനുശേഷമാണ് നമ്മൾ കോംപ്ലക്സ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ത്രീ-ഡയമെൻഷണൽ മോഷനിലേക്ക് പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് വൺ ഡയമെൻഷണൽ മോഷനിലെ ഇക്വേഷൻ ഓഫ് മോഷൻ ഇൻ്റഗ്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ്. ഓക്കെ, സോ this is a homework to you. You have to find the examples of time dependent and time independent forces. I already shown an example. So you have to search for different types of forces, time dependent ones and time independent ones. Okay, so keep it ready for tomorrow. Now the real problem or real case we are going to discuss today is how we can integrate the equation of motion in one dimension. So it needs some derivation. So let's go through it. How we can integrate the equation of motion in one dimension. So here we are discussing the problems involving only a single variable to describe the motion. So first we can find the equation of motion in one dimension. We can represent the equation of motion in one dimension as f is equal to ma. Okay, so we can represent it as ma equal to f. Here we are dealing with only one dimension, so the acceleration has only one component. Like we are dealing with the direction x, so we can represent it as m into, we can represent the acceleration in terms of position. That means m into d square x by dt square is equal to f of x, where f of x represents force in terms of force as a function of position x. Acceleration has only one component, d square x by dt square. So we can represent this in terms of velocity also. So m dv by dt is equal to f of x. Let this equation be 1. Now we have to integrate this equation 1 with respect to x. So we can integrate this equation with respect to x. So we can take integration dv by dt with respect to dx. So we have, while integrating, we have to give the limit of integration. That means we are integrating from xa to xb. This is the range or limit of integration. So we give lower limit as xa and upper limit as xb. So m into integral xa to xb dv by dt dx is equal to integral xa to xb f of x dx. Let this be equation number 2. Now in this equation number 2, we know the RHS because f of x is known. So RHS can be easily integrated. Now we are going to evaluate or integrate the LHS. So how we can integrate LHS? To integrate LHS, we usually use a trick. What is the trick? Here the LHS part is m into integral xa to xb dv by dt dx. This is our LHS. So in this case, we use, instead of dx, we can rearrange this dx as dx by dt into dt. So no changes appeared here. I just multiplied by dt and divide by dt. Now here we can use an equation. For dx by dt, what is dx by dt? The derivative of position. Derivative of position is velocity. So instead of dx by dt, we can put v. So we can put v into dt. So dx can be replaced as v dt. So here we are substituting for dx as v dt. So we are changing the x variable to t variable. So we are using a substitution method in this integration. So instead of x, we are substituting t. So in the substitution method, we have to replace the lower and upper limits also. That means if we substitute one variable, the upper and lower limit will change. So what will be the change? When x is equal to xa, that is the lower limit, what will be the time variable? Like we can say that this is our position xa and this is our position xb. At the position xa, the time is ta, and at the position xb, our time is tb. So when x equal to xa, time is ta, and when x equal to xb, time t is equal to tb. So what will happen? A and B denotes the initial and final positions. Initial and final positions. Or we can more clearly say xa and xb denotes the initial and final positions, and ta and tb represents initial and final time. So we can take the LHS and we can substitute for dx, and we can change the integral xa and xb. So we can change the xa and xb as integral m into integral ta to tb dv by dt into v dt. So instead of dx, we are substituting this v dt. So here we can again do a simplification. What is dv by dt dot v dt? It can be written as derivative of half v square dt. So just differentiate this. What is half v square? D by dt of half v square is, we can differentiate that like this. Half is a constant, v square can be integrated as 2v, and we can differentiate in terms of t. So 2v dv by dt. So 2 cancels, and we can say this is v dt. So here this is also v dt. So dv by dt into v can be written as v into dv by dt. So v into dv by dt can be written as d by dt of half v square. Now this integration is changed into time variable. So here we are integrating. So this integration is changed to time variable, and we can easily integrate this term, because we know that the integration and differentiation mutually cancels each other. So if we integrate one thing and there is a differential term, this both get cancelled. So integral d by dt of x can be written as x only, because integration and differentiation cancel out each other. So this expression will become, this is m is a constant, so we can take it inside. So half m v square, this is our integrated term to upper limit ta and tb. So the integral term and d by dt, integration and differentiation cancelled out, and remaining one is m into half v square. So m is taken inside, so half m v square into upper limit ta, lower limit ta and upper limit tb. So the LHS term is now LHS is equal to half mv square TA to TB. So we can put lower and upper limits. So this becomes half m into v square at the time TB minus half m v square at the position TA. So that is equal to half m v TB. V of TB can be simplified as, we can written in a simple form, VB is equal to V of TB, and similarly VA represents velocity at time TA. So we can simplify it as VB square minus half m VA square. So this is a simplified expression. So XA represents position at time TA and XB represents position at time TB. So the LHS is like this. Now we can put it in the equation. So the equation becomes, so our equation 2 becomes half m VB square minus half m VA square is equal to integral XA to XB f of x dx. So this is the integral form of equation of motion. So this is the integral form of equation of motion, and this equation is the general equation. General equation of motion in one dimension, and let this equation be equation number 3. Here VA represents the speed of particle at position XA, at X. So we can say that this equation 3 gives velocity as a function of X. And we know that velocity V is equal to dx by dt. So we can again integrate this equation 3 and we can find x. So we can use dx is equal to v dt. So integrating the equation number 3, we can find the value of position. So equation number 3 is a general equation, and using this general equation we can do some examples also. So I think this derivation is clear to you. So we have started from integrating the equation of motion in one dimension. So we started from Fs equal to ma. So here we are considering only one dimensional motion, so we represent it in terms of x. So m d square x by dt square is equal to f of x. But we are interested in finding the velocity, so we expressed this equation as velocity m dv by dt is equal to f of x. Now we give the upper and lower limit, and now we have to, the challenge is to differentiate, to integrate the LHS part. So for that we use a trick. That means we represent the position in terms of velocity, and we have integrated the expression, and we have find out the general expression for equation of motion in one dimension. Now let's do one example. See, we have a ball. You have a ball with you, and you are throwing this ball vertically upwards. So this ball has mass m. So ball of mass m is thrown vertically upward. Suppose this is, you are throwing in the z direction. So let this be the initial position, and initial position is represented as ZA, and final position is represented as ZB. ZA and ZB. So initial position is ZA and final position is ZB. The initial velocity, let the initial velocity be VA. You are throwing this ball with initial velocity VA. Now your question is, what is the maximum height attained by the ball. What is the maximum height attained by the ball? Attained by the ball. Assuming that the gravitational force is constant and you can neglect the frictional and other forces. So you can assume that gravitational force is constant. Gravitational force is constant and neglect all frictional forces. So this is your question. So I will give you some hint, and using that hint you can complete it. So you can use the previous equation we have derived, that is half m vb square minus half m va square is equal to integral xa to xb f of x dx. Why we use this equation? Because this motion is also a one-dimensional motion, because the ball is moving in the z direction only. So this is also a one-dimensional equation. So we can use the same general equation here also. And another hint is that we have given that the gravitational force is constant. What is the gravitational force? Gravitational force is F is equal to mg. We know that if we are throwing a ball upwards, the gravitational force is acting downwards. So this is the gravitational force acting. F is equal to mg. So if we are taking the upward direction as positive, we can give a negative sign here for this force, because this force is acting in the opposite direction and the force is minus mg. Now we can simply put this in equation, the general equation, and we can find we can integrate the LHS, RHS, and we can find the maximum height. So for that we have also one thing. What will be the velocity at maximum height? At maximum height, what is the velocity? We have learned in our plus 2 that if we throw a ball, it will reach its maximum height. So let this be the maximum height. ZB is the maximum height, because the initial position is ZA and the final position is ZB. So at ZB, the particle will stop and it will fall back. So at maximum height, the ball will stop. That means velocity of the ball is 0. So that is the clue. We have VA only, VB is equal to 0. At maximum height, VB is equal to 0. Now you can complete this problem, and your aim is to find ZB. You have to find the maximum height attained by the ball by solving this equation. So this is also a homework problem to you. So you have to complete this problem using the given hints, and you have to find the maximum height attained by the ball. Okay. So I think today's topic is clear to you. Today we have derived the general equation for general equation of motion in terms of speed of the particle by integrating it in one dimension, and we have formulated a general equation, and we have discussed an example based on this. So do this problem and keep it with you. Thank you.